Yeah, I don't have much. As always, I want to thank the fans for coming out to Pittsburgh. I thought it was a good turnout for the Hokies. We're obviously excited about homecoming this weekend and having Miami here. Maroon effect and sold-out crowd. So, the guys are excited. We started talking Miami post-game in the locker room and, anxious to get rolling. So, had a good couple of days, Sunday, Monday. Questions?
I'm curious, when you watch the film on the run defense, it seemed like there were a lot of plays where you got them for negative yards, 1 yard, 2 yards, and then a bunch where they go 30, sometimes 80. Why such a drastic difference from play to play, and what did you see with that?
Yeah, really three things. I mean, I think when you look at when you don't defend the run very well, were they just more physical, and did you just not match up, and did you have problems, just going toe-to-toe? And that wasn't the case. There's quite a good number of snaps with good fits and good tackling. I mean, you take the first series, for example. But I think we had 11 TFLs, which is a good day. But we had some issues in execution that against a back that can run. He got out on us. And when you got a back that can run, you got to be able to run everywhere else defensively. Speed became a factor. I don't agree with runs, going the distance. I think your secondary, it's their responsibility to get guys on the ground when one breaks, when there is an execution error. So we got to be better there. Some of it was angles and speed. And then, we missed a couple of tackles that I think were critical that led to explosive runs. And then as I mentioned post-game, anytime you let the ball outside your defense, you got issues, and we didn't edge the defense well enough. So it was a combination of things, and to be honest, once again, it's things we're able to fix, and we showed the kids on the video, here's us doing it correctly and look at the results. Here's us not doing it the way we need to and look at the results. So I think it's, if we learn from it, I think it was, after watching the film, it was the deciding factor in the game, the inability to minimize the explosive runs. So, I think we made the message clearly with the guys on Sunday, and I expect improvement there.
Looking at the depth chart, you have Tisdale back on there. Does he work through his eligibility issue, and how much of a lift can he give you at that will spot that seems like you've been cycling guys through all season?
Yeah, we had some issues at that spot again Saturday. Led to a couple of those executions. But, Allen's a veteran player. He's done everything right to put himself back in position to play, regained his eligibility Sunday. And, so we're thankful for that for him, first of all. He's worked really hard and embraced his role, even though he was frustrated, and really brought value on the scout team each and every practice. So, and glad it worked out for him. And then obviously for us, with question marks at that spot. And there's been improvement from Keller, from McDonald. Kelly hasn't probably had the opportunities like the other two, but there's been improvement. It's just not where we need it to be. And so I'm excited to see what Allen can bring and if he can shore us up at that spot.
Hey, Brent. Closer examination of the operational issues you had on special teams. What did you find there?
Yeah, just a little shaky, jittery. Some of it was a low snap that pulled him outside the shield. Timing on field goal PAT was a low kick on the extra point that was blocked. I mean, nobody jumped, it was a low kick. And he's been pretty good to this point. I don't know if it was that stadium a little bit and the way the wind blows through there, if it had him jittery, but it seemed like, Peter had the shakes a little bit and Ross had the shakes a little bit. It just, we weren't smooth like we'd been. And it was, I think that was, had some bearing on the game.
Is that frustrating? I mean, like the penalty thing, you fix it, and then something else, it's like you're putting finger in the dam in different places. As the head man, I mean, how much of a challenge is that, when you're just trying to patch things up and then something new springs up?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're going to live in that world always to a degree, right? There's always going to be things that pop up in a ball game or operating a staff, whatever the case is. But what you don't want to see is just, you want to see growth and development and minimizing those things that happen, that they're fewer and far between, and that you're not seeing repetitive things. We were just talking today defensively. We were watching some Penn State film and against Josh Gaddis in Michigan. And, you got guys playing in the structure that had been in it 3, 4, and even 5 years, playing the same defense, being coached by the same guy, same techniques, and the value in that, how much faster you can play and how much cleaner you can play. So, but, so I think it's live and learn, right, and you grow and develop, and that's happening for our football team. I see a lot of positive things, and it's happening for our staff as well. There's been growing pains, obviously, but I think we're learning, we're improving each week. There's going to be still some things that pop up here and there that just hadn't hit us yet.
Let's go back around to Dave.
Brent, obviously I get trying to go 1-0 every week. That being said, after dropping 2 on the road, you feel like there might be a little more pressure to get this one at home, being that you only have 3 more home games left, and also, going to a bye, trying to get momentum. And if there is any pressure, maybe how do you relieve some of that?
Yeah, I don't know that, the message in the narrative isn't about additional pressure. We don't talk that way with the guys. It's about being 1-0 this week and making the corrections, improving as a team, improving individually, improving as a staff. That's the outlook. I mean, I talked to the coaches and the players on Sunday about the lessons learned is what's laying the foundation for this thing, week in and week out, and we have to maximize, the things that we are learning and make sure that they become part of our fabric and who we are, and and that alone merits improvement each week. But I think there's a level of excitement with Miami coming to town, with it being a home game, big crowd, homecoming. So there's a level of excitement that I think our guys are really looking forward to, yes.
Just to ask about some of the injured guys, do you feel any better about Caleb or Stephen Gosnell this week?
I don't feel as good about Gosnell. I feel pretty good about Caleb.
Then Garbutt, do you feel like the week off helped him a bit?
Yeah, I do. I think, he got treatment all weekend, and we'll see. The big test will be today, how he feels running around. And so I think, he's a tough guy, and he'll play. Hopefully it's just he's playing and he's feeling better.
And Dorian hasn't traveled the last 2 weeks. Could that be a long-term thing with him?
Hopefully not long-term. He's a long shot for this week, but he's improving every week. But he's a long shot for this week.
And then I think I heard on your radio show you said Brad Glenn's up in the booth now.
Correct.
Did you feel like that made a difference on Saturday? What was sort of the reasoning behind him going up there? I think he's been up there most of his career.
That's probably the biggest reason. It was more so about maximizing the value that Brad can bring as a veteran coach, veteran play caller. Where can Brad be at his best? And after going, because we went kind of back and forth in the preseason. Should he go up? Should he be down? Tyler up, Tyler down, and so we kind of messed around with it in the preseason. And I wanted to get through a couple of weeks, get into the season, and see how we felt about it. So we had a follow-up conversation and made a decision to put him up, and he felt really good about it. And, Grant felt good about it, and I think, Tyler was in a good place, so we'll probably stick with that.
Aaron, and then we'll go to Zoom.
In a similar vein, we asked you a couple weeks ago about Marv and sort of the transition. I mean, we're halfway through your season here. How's that going, and where is that, and what is your vision going forward with sort of, what if you're going to relinquish any of it or whatever?
No, that's a good question. I feel really good about Chris. I think we're, would we like to be playing better defense? Of course, but ultimately that wasn't, the goal. The goal was to have Chris kind of see it firsthand without having to do it all. and the formula, the structure, how the week of preparation goes, all those things that are important to me in building your defensive game plan, building your defensive unit from a personnel standpoint, all of it. Just having me lead that for a full cycle so that Chris better understands the expectations, and also he's getting his own experience. This is something that he really likes that I do. This is something maybe he would do differently. It'll be great conversations for he and I. We've had some of them already, but postseason and the direction we want to go. And yeah, my intentions right now at this point are still to turn things over to Chris following the season.
Let's sit out the Zoom for a couple.
On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature to ask questions, and we'll start with David Cunningham, please.
Yeah, Brent, sorry for not being there. I'm in Charlotte covering ACC Media Days for basketball. I was curious, DJ Harvey didn't play last week. Jaden Blue returned punts. What'd you think about Jaden, and how's DJ doing?
Yeah, obviously Jaden, we'd like to be a little cleaner fielding those punts. DJ was nursing, a minor injury. He wasn't able to have a full week of practice, so we'd been interested in seeing what Jaden could do anyways, so it gave us the opportunity to do that. And we're kind of going to take a look at it through the week here to decide who will field punts for us Saturday.
And, of course, Allen's back. You've mentioned how big he's been for special teams. What exactly was his kind of role, and as somebody who's played so many snaps in his college career, to be in that kind of weird position? What was it like to see him kind of lead the scout team, and what have you liked from him, now that he's going to get his opportunity?
Yeah, he can play the game fast. He's had enough snaps. He's got enough experience that he can play fast, and he understands, fits and leverages and angles, and can more quickly ID things. So that's obviously that brings a ton of value. But it was great for our scout teams to understand, and for our team to understand, which we talked about Sunday. Here's a guy that had been a starter that had to be relegated to a different role, and the way he embraced it and made the most of it, impacted our football team, and really was an inspiration for those guys over there, and then to see it work out where he regains his eligibility, and he's at mid-season and has an opportunity to still have a good year, and to help the football team and help our defense and have a good year for himself. And, so he's a really good kid. He handled it great, and I'm excited for him.
Can we go to Steve, please?
Coach, you talked a little while ago about the tackling technique, or after the game, about you didn't like some of the technique that they were using, and that might have cost. Has there been some regression since camp, or is it fatigue, or is there something else that's led to that here, especially in the Pittsburgh game?
I think it's a couple of things. I think we talked Sunday, we lose our focus a little bit as the game goes on. Some of it's fatigue, some of it's, just the wear and tear. But, so if you don't sink your hips, right, and you don't bend your knees, and you try and tackle high, it's not a good fit. Your chances of making that tackle aren't near as good. You got guys sticking arms out instead of getting body on body. Things you got to take that extra step to get in position to make a good tackle, especially when you're trying to tackle good people, which the running back was a good back. And, and so I think it's a combination of being able to maintain great body position, great fits, all those things. We had several examples where we've made those tackles and we didn't make them Saturday. And I'll give the back credit to some degree, but also when you look at the film and we're not in the position that's necessary, we don't have our knees bent, we don't have our eyes up, we don't take that extra step. It makes it that much tougher to get a guy on the ground. So, we talked about it. We watched several clips together as a defense, and then we, obviously it'll be emphasized in practice today.
Also, the look from when you had that turnover, the momentum was so much in your control at that point, and then you had the turnover. Did it feel like the flip of the momentum was as drastic as it turned out to be as far as what Pittsburgh was able to do after that?
Yeah, it was, and to be honest, they did a good job. We had at that point we were subbed, and we had Stroman in the boundary, and they had a couple of boundary runs. With Nyquist Hawkins out, Stroman just hasn't gotten the reps over there. He repped it some last week, but just the natural feel for how to fit those things in the boundary this year, was out of the ball game, and it, so. It opened our eyes. We got to continue to rep Stroman in the boundary some too. And the week before, Nasir had to play some to the field with Stroman out for the first half, and so those guys just being able to play both sides as safeties, is important. But they did a good job. They came back and swung the momentum. But we got to do a better job. It was a couple of big run plays added by a personal foul, a frustration foul, and just things we got to We got to fit those runs better, and we got to eliminate foolish penalties.
A couple more on Zoom. If we could go to Evan and then Mike.
Yeah, Coach, during the game, they show you a bunch of times writing some notes in a notepad and trying to track as the game's going along. Is that so you can hand that off to Chris Marv and talk to him a little bit about the defense, or is that down in distance and what you're seeing to track on film? Kind of what's your process there of the note-taking during games?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I've always done that, right? When the defense comes off the field, I want to go through the last series. And sometimes I'm talking to the guys on the headset. Sometimes I'm just going through what's in my notes. What did I call? What have I called against this grouping, in the game thus far? You kind of hit chart everything after each series as a coordinator, at least I do. And so that's part of it. And then at the same time, I'm trying to take notes on what's occurred, what were some game-changing moments, in the series, defensively or offensively. And then certainly there's some communication with Coach Marv that's involved.
And can we end with Mike, please?
Hey, Coach, I'm curious, what was your process with Malachi in terms of getting him back full speed, and managing his workload?
Yeah, we were committed to a gradual process. Most importantly, the medical staff had to feel good about clearance. Secondly, Malachi had to feel good and confident. We didn't want to get him out there too early, and it could have gone the other direction, right? You kind of shove him out there a little bit, encourage him to go. When he just doesn't have that great look on his face, I don't know if you get the same result. So I think he was in a really good place. He was anxious to play. He was confident. And even then, we said, let's feed this to him slowly and make sure we get him, coming out of this thing in a positive way where it's something we can build on. And we certainly felt good about the performance and the carries, and we'll look to add to that.
What does he add to your offense, having him back?
Yeah, I think you can, the touchdown run in itself embodies everything. He's tough. He's physical. He's determined. I think it jump-started not just the offense, but the defensive players. Seeing him run like that and his mindset and toughness. And, he's a big-body guy that gets positive yards. So I think he was, he was motivating for the entire team to see him kind of come around and run the way he does.
And
honestly,
the last one for me, I'm curious.
The other way it impacts the offense is, you don't have to rely so much on Keyshawn. He can be that other back, where he doesn't have to be the featured guy every snap. I think they're a great 1-2 punch.
And how did Malachi handle the gradual approach of bringing him back? Was he on board? Was he frustrated? Was he pressing? How did he approach all that?
I think he was good. He was anxious. But at the same time, I think if you go back, Wednesday prior to Pitt versus Wednesday prior to North Carolina, he had a completely different mindset, different level of confidence. So I think everybody felt really good going into the Pitt game that, he was ready and it was time to kind of get him some good work.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Travis, back.
Two more quick ones here in the room. We'll go Brooke and then Andy to finish.
Coach, you're halfway through your first season. How are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good. Obviously we'd like to have a few more wins in the win column, but I feel good about the progress we're making. There's nothing discouraging about the team. I mean, they're responding, they're growing, they're developing, they're positive. The culture's in a good place. The staff's working their butt off. Support's been great. So we feel pretty good about the direction of things. It's not to say we're disappointed. We obviously are. It's not to say that we're not. But, when you look at the positives, they're important positives that you have to move forward. And there's a lot of those things in place that make me feel good about it.
Daquan had another nice game in the slot receiving. Did you envision that role for him coming into this year? And is that something that he could expand into a more traditional tight end, or do you like that sort of niche spot for him right now?
No, and that's the fine line. He's been a role guy right now, and he's been able to do that now for 2 weeks and do it well. So the conversation was had, where does that grow, and can it grow right now? Can he learn more of the offense? Can he do more? So we'll see how the week goes. But we did have that conversation because he's obviously brought a lot of value to the offense.
The big topic right now is stopping the run and what happened on Saturday. What was your vantage point on that? What needs to be better for you guys to do a better job against the run?
For me, the D-line, just me speaking for the D-line, is just trusting everybody behind you. Coach says every day, do your 111. Just everybody just trusting the man behind them, next to him, just doing your job and trusting the man beside you going to do the same thing. That's what I think we need to get better at, honestly.
I guess something that could help in that department is having Tisdale back behind you. What can he – I guess start with what he's been like just sort of with you guys when he hasn't been able to play, and then what can he mean coming back?
For me, what I've been seeing is him just still being around. I haven't seen him down throughout this whole process. That's one thing I really commend him for, is just not being down throughout this whole process. Smiles on his face. You would never think that this was going on with him this whole entire time. We didn't even know it was going into, the season, really. But him being back is just going to bring another aspect to the game as far as, seniority. A veteran, he had, multiple snaps just like I have, and most of our defense. It's just going to be, it's going to click better, I think. Oh, I got you. My bad.
Have you been close with Tisdale, through your careers, or?
Yeah, definitely. Because remember, I started off in the linebacker room, so when he got here, it's kind of when I was getting my first couple snaps and as being a linebacker. So I've always been close with Allen, just throughout my whole process being here. So yeah.
We talked. It was either Keller or Lawson, and we were asking who was helping them along, and they were saying it was Tisdale. So I guess you've probably seen those interactions with those younger guys, right?
Yep. That's how we all got to do it, especially all of us being the older guys and us 6-year guys. I think we all kind of grab a young guy underneath our wing and try to bring him along. For me, it's Kyrie and Keyshawn Burgos and even Malachi Madison. I'm always trying to tell them things to get them better, just getting their head right for the upcoming years.
Other questions for Jaylen? Good.
Miami, obviously always a big deal, right? Just your thoughts. I know they're kind of struggling a little bit too. How important is this to play well on Saturday against a rival?
It's a conference game for me. It's just we need it. We got to bounce back. We've kind of been in a slump lately. I think we, as a team and as a program, need this win to just bring us back and just to shake us from the funk, for real. That's how I really feel about it.
I'm assuming getting pressure on Van Dyke will probably be a priority.
Yes, sir. That's one thing we've been emphasizing. It's kind of been something we've slacked on the last 2 weeks, honestly. And as a D-line, we've all come together and said that we need to do this. So it's been after practice, extra pass rush drills and stuff like that. It's not we're not just saying, oh, forget the run. Forget the pass. We definitely need to start being better pass rushers. That's our biggest challenge this week.
Now, with Coach Marv not calling the plays yet, he's going to do that next year. But Sort of what is your interaction with Coach Marv, and sort of what is, I guess, his role in developing you?
I guess outside looking in, y'all don't really see it, but Coach, like personally, I wouldn't even say that he wasn't calling the plays. Like it don't feel like that. Like he still runs the defense. Like throughout the practice, he's still the juice guy. Like he's bringing all the juice. Like he got us all like disciplined to the point where he'll say, "What's our standard?" Everybody yelling out excellence, just like it's like robot mechanics. But it's something we've been needing for a while, discipline, and he's bringing that a lot. And I love Coach Moore. Like I'm loving the whole coaching staff. Like this is the best staff I've been around. So I've been here.
Brooke, and then we'll come back to Andy.
How's it going?
Hey.
Coach Pry said that halfway through the season that there are positives there that are moving you guys forward. He's not discouraged. What are some of those positives that you've seen through 6 games that will, bring you guys motivation through the end of the season?
The improvements I've seen as far as like our team, like throughout all this chaos, I would say, we've all like managed to still stick together. Like it's not no bickering, it's not no pointing fingers. Like it's your fault, your fault. We've managed to really stay tight and connected. And I really like in the past, it's not been that way. It's always been, you know what I'm saying? Like people will just fall apart here and there, but like we've just been sticking together, and it's bringing us tighter and tighter. And then week by week, he's showing us like we're this close. Like he's saying that, but like we're seeing it, and that's what's really been kind of frustrating is that we know we can have the game, we know we can win the game, but we just gotta execute the plays and execute like when your number's called, like not making the plays that you feel like, oh, I gotta make the play, I gotta make the play. Let the plays come to you. That's what we need a better understanding of. I think that's what we're getting to. And another positive. Let me see. That's all I can think of right now.
Do you feel like you guys were as close as you've ever been on Saturday to that, getting to the end and getting a win?
Yes, like that block kick, I just felt like I was like, oh, we got it. Like this is it. But fortunately, it ain't fall out that way. But like I said, we see like this. It's all on us. Like we're shooting ourselves in the foot, but we're gonna get it right this week, and that's what I'm gonna try to emphasize with everybody, especially in my room. And I feel like that's what the other captain's gonna do as well.
Thanks.
Jaylen, just individually, you're in your 6th year here. I'm curious, was that an easy decision to come back for another year? I know didn't you have like a little surgery after the season? Was there any point where you're like, is this worth it to keep coming back?
You're the first person to ever asked me that. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, but it was hard as far as like just mentally getting over the labrum surgery. I kind of had like a few rough patches, but I was to a point where I was like, do I really want to put myself through this again? Like no, like I don't even think my coaches know, but yeah, it was rough. But I talked to my folks, prayed about it, and ultimately I came back better than ever. Got over all them rough patches, mentally, physically, emotionally, and just I'm here. I'm blessed to be in the position I am now.
Was it just talking to your parents that helped you work through that and make the decision? Or
Yeah.
did you talk to any coaches here that helped you guide through that process?
No, it was more so just my family. Really, I say my parents, but I think more so my brothers. Like, they pushed me more than anything as far as just like, nah, bro, we got to see you. You keep us going, like, throughout their process. So just seeing them and hearing that from them kind of pushed me on to keep going throughout the season.
And you said it was a torn labrum?
Yeah, it was
When
torn
did that
labrum.
happen?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I just know I played the whole season with kind of a banged-up shoulder. Come on UVA first quarter, a bad fit with my shoulder, and it kind of just let go of me. But it was never really, like, it never popped out of place. None of that. It was just, it's good now.
Let's go out to Zoom for a couple.
On Zoom, we'll use the raise hand feature again for questions, and we'll start with David.
Yeah, Jaylen, you had 6 tackles on Saturday at Pitt, a career high for you. What did you feel about just the way you played and the way your defensive line kind of got in the backfield, 11 tackles for loss as a group?
For me personally, I didn't even realize how many tackles I had until after the game. Like, it felt like a normal game for me as far as that until, like, I got back to the bus and checked my phone. Phone blowing up from my pops. Like, he's recording every tackle, sending it to me. keep going, keep going, keep going. Like, that's when it kind of hit me. And then when he sent me the stat line up, 2.5 TFLs, career high, 6 tackles, career high. I was like, man, like, it's crazy. Like, it was just crazy to me. And then, like, now he told me, he was like, well, you done messed up now. You showed me you could do it, so you got to keep doing it. So that's what I challenge myself to do, is keep on stacking stuff like that, stacking games like that, just for me and to better myself.
Do you feel like you're playing with kind of a newfound energy? How do you feel like your overall play this season has been?
Yeah, I feel like I'm starting to evolve a little more, and that's coming with me being a 6-year senior. Like, I see things a lot quicker than somebody younger than me would. It's just like I'm being able to identify plays, identify blocks, and just seeing everything faster is what's helping me a lot. Just move around and just not really thinking so much and just going.